Hello there guys, welcome back to In My Shed. I'm BC. The last two videos have been fairly well accepted, trying to get close-ups. I think that's what you guys have probably wanted all along, so I'm doing another follow-up today, gulleting a 4-flute end mill and doing a few clearance grinds, trying to get some macros, which I think the last couple were fairly acceptable, and also I hope to give this a try. I've been rushing over it as a cheap Chinese wheel because of the colour for years. And as I said in a previous video, the bloody thing's a Norton CBN wheel. It's not quite an 11V9. It doesn't have the sharp edge, which I wish it had for some operations. But enough gas bagging from me. I'll replace the camera where it was and zoom you in for a try. We're only down feeding about a thou at a time. We still haven't got down to deep in the gullet yet. I'm just starting to see it, witness now that it is cutting. And it's good this time to be doing it with sparks. It's a lot slower than grinding an annular cutter. There's my little pointer. Not handy. Okay. Yeah, it's just getting to be the shape that I'd expect to see of the ground area in there. Okay, I'll find my little pointer and come back to you. Okay, it's going for a bit of a walk. First in the GoPro, I'll point out there's a little shiny area just in there. You can see that the new gullet is starting to form the same as the old gullet. And for those looking through this camera, just in there you can see a little bit of a shiny area is just picking up. What I'm trying to do is create the amount of distance that the secondary clearance has to be ground to get into the gullet to free the grinding wheel up. I think that's how you would say it. Now, yes, I'll see if I can zoom you in a little bit better. There we go, a bit. That's about as good as we can get it, I think. Anyway, start the machine again and I'll take a few more cuts. As you can hear, it cuts again as I retract. The slides are quite worn on this machine. That'll be attended to in another video. Now, another surprise you can get with an old machine like this is stick slip, especially when you're using the vertical slide to apply the down feed. You apply one thou, one thou, one thou, and it'll drop 3. If it's a little bit sticky, so you've got to be careful then. We're almost there, are they? Okay. I will tilt the cutter back for you to have a better look. Another thing to be very careful of when you're indexing out of the flute is that you remove all of the swarf. And I have a little soft bristle brush. If you leave swarf in there, you'll be indexing out of balance and you can get one big cut that you don't want. Not quite as far as I'd like to, so I'll do a little bit more off camera because it's getting a little bit boring. And boring for me because I've got to be so damn careful. Bring it back where I can show you the cutter. Okay guys, this is the result. I've gone to a bit of black pen to show you what I've been doing. This area and there that's quite black is the area I've been grinding to make a semicircular groove in there. That is what the facet looks like at the moment. It's all primary clearance, and we'll be grinding this bit away so the bit of black at the front there is all that's remaining. Now when we move across with the grinding wheel, we need a bit of space here for the grinding wheel to escape into, just like in an annular cutter, without hitting the front of the next tooth. And that's the tricky bit. I'm very good at hitting the front of the next tooth. Actually, this is a lot easier than an annular cutter. When you get more than 4 teeth, the space between them gets a little bit crowded, so you have to gullet crosswise, not so much radially. But yeah, they come up quite well. I know you see lots of guys on the internet getting into areas like that and taking 15 or 25 thou, especially those from Asia. Man, that is so damn dangerous. That's how you blow a wheel up. But you also fry the cutter and you create a whole lot of micro cracks in there. You could finish up with one whole edge peeling away. So that's first operation. Hope you get a good enough look at that. Well, guys, what do we got here on the table? This is probably nearly as old as me. It's an LS Starrett planer and shaper gauge. You can run it horizontal like it is now or vertical. The thimbles will screw into the top, so you've got a range from right down near ground level up to about 8 inches. Fabulous old tools. They're very cheap over in America. You'll pay $75 to $100 plus freight out here. And for situations like this, I can't spin the head around anymore, or the body of the workhead hits on the clamp nut, the big thumb nut. That's just the design of it. But this is enough. I showed you using a magnetic bubble level earlier, but this is very, very accurate. Just measure the height of one cutting edge, come across here, height of the other cutting edge. You're going to be within about 3 or 4 thou. Now, realistically, besides a very, very small amount of performance difference, having the teeth just not quite level means you don't have parallel lines over the back on the primary and secondary facets. They'll be angled off a little bit. And a small amount of that doesn't matter a rat's bum. But keep this in mind. This same tool is very good for measuring the thicknesses of grooves or the height of something off a table. A hell of a good setup item, and something not very often thought of nowadays. Rightio, let's set the cutter up for grinding. It's the first time for me using a super abrasive CBN wheel, and it seems to grind really, really strange. It doesn't make a grinding noise. It makes a shushing noise, if that makes sense to you fellas. Okay, I've ground the primary, and all that needed was a little touch-up. Come up very, very polished. I'm now trying to grind the secondary at 20 degrees and turn it on and let's see what happens. Okay. Now to the next one. Okay, I'll go in about another thou. That sure as hell doesn't sound like grinding to me. Add another thou. I'm starting to get a little bit used to this bulky workhead. We'll just have a little bo peep. Can't see a bloody thing. Oh well, another thou. Another foul. Almost didn't index that one properly. And that's easy to do with this workhead. Okay, can we see anything that's happening? No, can't see a thing. Okay. No use grinding blind. Apply the shirt tails to the mirror. Can we see better this time? Yeah, we still have a bit to go. Okay. Another foul. Now, I don't know if you guys are picking it up, but I see a little cloud of material disappearing each time I engage the wheel, but whether that's wheel material or... Ooh. Once more around for good luck, and I think we'll be there. This is a completely different feel. There's no zing to the wheel, or there's no ring checking it or any of that. It just takes high-speed steel away. Okay, I'll turn the cameras off, swing it round, and we'll have a look. Righto, guys. I'm quite pleased with it. It's a little bit hard to get used to. And I can see a little bit of marking on the wheel, but not knowing what to expect, hard for me to tell whether it's good or not. You can see a sharp delineation between the primary and secondary angle. All of them quite even. Very, very happy with the way that ground, even though it is a chatty old cutter. Nothing to write home to mum about. And there goes the phone, but the phone will just have to wait till we finish this. Okay, happy with the finish. There you are, guys. I've moved the light a little bit. Absolutely fantastic finish this 320 grit reel is giving, and there's sharp delineation, and the primary and secondary facets are parallel fairly much. I'll back the camera out again and show you a bit more of the setup. I should have done that before I broke it down, I suppose, but I was a bit anxious to get in and have a look myself. Bring you back soon. Shoot here, yes, it's all seemed to be working. Okay, I'll zoom you out later on to show you the holistic view of the setup. But you can see here the cutting edges are horizontal. Once you set them up with the planar shaper gauge, it doesn't matter what elevation you take them to, they will still both remain at in the same plane. Okay, when I turn the table crank wheel, you can see the tooth moves across the surface of the wheel. Now, one thing you have to do is have a look through here and make sure that the following tooth at the bottom doesn't rub up against the wheel. If it does that, it takes the edge off that tooth and you make a mess of the cutter. And I know that by experience. Let's see. Now, it looks like we're right up close, but we're still about 35 thou off the wheel. Now, all it is remove the cutter from the wheel, disengage the latch, spin it round till the next tooth locks in, do the latch up, and slide that tooth across the wheel. Now, with no noise and with no drags or sparks or anything, it did an amazing job on the front of that cutting tool. I'm sorry I couldn't mount the cutter in the workhead to swing it around and show you, but it only swings so many degrees and it hits the clamp onto the table, so that rules that out. Yeah, very, very satisfied, and I think super abrasives will be the way for me. I'm currently talking to J&C Abrasives over in China about wheels, but oh my God, the language barrier is bloody extreme. It really is difficult to get any information out of them. Okay, bring you back out to show you some more. G'day, back again. A few more items to show you on the setup. I'll just get this away from that bloody fill light. That'll make it a little bit easier. Sorry I'm out of the frame, but then you don't need my ugly mug. Okay, basic setups. The table or the workhead is swiveled on the base to give it about 2 or 3 degrees concavity. So you grind in towards the centre of the cutter. That way it won't rub on the inner part of the tooth. The cutter or the workhead is tilted. I do it back to front. First I do 5 degrees or whatever you want for a primary angle, then tilt it up this time to 20 degrees, and I managed to match what I'd done on the cutter previously. So that was a little bit of a fluke. I've been using this indexer here, and although it's cumbersome, I'm starting to get a little bit used to it, but undo the latch and the indexing lever pops out, spin it round to the next tooth, and I've managed to use some brains, and with a felt pen I've marked adjacent to the slots that I'm using. It's not a Sharpie here, it's a bloody felt pen. This is Australia. All in all, I think it's something I'll get used to fairly easy. I will still do smaller cutters on the Clarkson or on the wrong foo. I can get a much faster action there. But for doing bigger things, and I might use this on the really big annular cutters, where they get difficult, you can imagine as a cutter goes from 19mm to 65mm, you've got about, I think, 6 times the torque. So if you just slacken off a little bit, and I've done this, and you don't hold onto it reasonably tight up against the indexing finger, it'll pull the cutter down and it goes further into the wheel, And not only do you do a poo in your pants, but you bugger the customer's cutter and you've got to spend half an hour grinding that out. If you like this sort of content, where I get in to do a few macros, let me know. At the moment, I can't mix camcorder SD card info with the GoPro because they've got two different programs, but I can create two different clips, and the GoPro I think is very good for macros, so I'll do a cutter inside out video and then a cutter inside out too with all the little clips. So watch the second show because that's the GoPro, which I think it could be sometimes better up close like that. Okay, let me know in the comments what you think if you'd like to go a bit further. And hello to those in the US of A. Thank you for being a really big part of my audience. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Bye for now.